The trip we have designed takes place at Chislehurst Caves and has cross-curricular references to history, focusing on World War II, geography, focusing on location and population, and science, focusing on sound. The trip will take place at the midpoint of the term, and therefore children will have developed knowledge around the upcoming themes. Outdoor learning is a key way of integrating curricular content that, depending on age and stage, is traditionally taught in separate subject areas. For example, history and geography. Teaching subjects in an integrated fashion, both indoors and outdoors, reflects the interdisciplinary nature of the real world. Beamed et al. 2012, 7-8. Constable, 2012, page 37, identifies that learning out of the classroom can be used to learn across several areas of the curriculum. Boys and Spink, 2008, define a good history lesson to be one in which children are free to discuss and reason important historical issues and questions. As a class, we will take part in a discussion as part of a pre-activity. Based on their prior knowledge around World War II, we will discuss what we already know and what we believe we may find out whilst on the trip. Papert, 1993, cited in Vickery, 2014, suggests that we should encourage children to act as the professional role within the subject they are learning. In this case, the pre-activity will encourage the children to use inquiry skills, acting as though they are researchers. Vikova, 2003, states that when children discuss and share knowledge, their self-confidence can increase, whilst furthermore, the implementation of discussion can demonstrate the relationship between real-life experiences and the curriculum. The pre-activity is designed to provoke thought and enable children to observe relevant detail whilst exploring the caves. Halocha, 1998, argues that discussion can help develop children's confidence to ask questions and increase their ability to research and assess the answers to their own and their peers' questions. Vickery, 2014, states that through the use of discussion, children are actively involved in the learning. She argues that independent research, which follows this discussion, can ensure that children transfer their knowledge throughout the curriculum. As this discussion will be highlighting what the children think they may discover, they will be actively analysing and researching for clues and answers throughout the trip, and therefore taking part in independent research. Bunting, 2006, examines that experiential and active learning is a beneficial and inclusive pedagogical approach, as it engages several parts of the body and mind. She states that the teaching style engages the physical self as it is active and moving within the process, whilst the mental self is consistently thinking and questioning. The emotional self engages the physical and mental processes. Before we go into the caves, the children will take part in an activity which will take place in the museum part of the caves. Here, there are a range of artefacts from the Second World War. Boys and Spink, 2008, page 74, acknowledged the difficulty in teaching history to children, as it can be portrayed as a distant subject that is hard to relate to. However, if artefacts are introduced that children can hold and feel, these objects will ensure that the past seems more concrete. The children will be encouraged to analyse the propaganda posters. This will form a basis of the 5th history lesson, where the children will be looking at propaganda in more detail. Children will also have the opportunity to look at the ration books on display. This will prepare them for the final lesson of the 6-week period. Hayes, 2010, notes that using a visit as a starting point for a sequence of lessons can be beneficial as it introduces the topic in an interactive way. They will then be able to reflect upon their experiences in following lessons. This activity will be beneficial for the children, as the adults will be taking a step back from the traditional style of teaching and learning. Beamed et al. 2012 acknowledged that as humans, we learn through our experiences. The children will be free to explore the artefacts and discuss these with peers. These artefacts will be placed in an authentic setting, and therefore the learning is appropriate to the context. Beamed et al. 2012 note that this can demonstrate the relationships of many subjects and aspects of the curriculum. There will be a sound activity that is carried out during the tours in the caves. Children will experience what it sounded like in the caves during an air raid in World War II. The guide will hit a large metal gong. Children will have developed their knowledge of sound up to this point. However, this activity will provide experiential learning of the topic whilst demonstrating cross-curricular links with history. Kolb 2012 concludes that experience should be a central component to the learning process. Through this activity, children will have the opportunity to experience what it would have sounded like to hear bombs going off whilst in the caves. This experience will demonstrate cross-curricular links to science and history. Bunting 2006, page 10, defines outstanding activities as ones that are designed with multiple purposes. Furthermore, this experience will allow children to empathise with what life was like in the caves and therefore be able to describe in more detail. Beamed et al. 2012 emphasised the importance for children to learn through experience. They expand on their statement by referring to a lecturer who asked trainee teachers to describe a banana whilst they were eating it. Because the trainees were experiencing the taste, they could describe the banana in more detail. This example was used to emphasise the importance of their direct experience rather than passively receiving information. Direct experience allows children to engage using their 5 senses as well as emotionally, physically and spiritually involving themselves within the learning. Authentic learning experiences provide effective experiential learning. This is because the learning takes place in the real context of what is being learned. We agreed with the guide to stop in a large area of the cave. At this point, as the teacher, I plan to read out a diary entry of a child living in the caves during World War II, which is written by myself. Prendeville et al. 2007, page 11, note that the most important resource you have as a teacher when using drama is yourself. Whilst the entry is being read out, the children will act out the feelings and emotions that are conveyed. Prendeville et al. 2007 continue to analyse that the children will be dominated by listening, and often their responses involve questioning and interpreting of the meaning. As this activity does not require any speech, it may develop more shy children's involvement in drama activities, as there is no right or wrong criteria. The use of roleplay is a good tool to develop empathy, which allows children to reflect upon the lives of children of that time. Prendeville et al. 2007, page 64. Furthermore, Hoodless 2008 argues that the use of roleplay as a form of pedagogy is beneficial as roleplay is a natural instinct for many young people. Boys and Spink 2008 support this. They state that the use of stories to communicate historical information can be easily understood by children, as stories are a familiar factor in their lives. Furthermore, Hoodless 2008 notes that the use of roleplay is an inclusive, holistic approach to teaching and learning and seamlessly cooperates with cross-curricular pedagogy as it involves a variety of senses and themes. Dixon and Hales 2014 comment that roleplay is a powerful approach to engage children as their curiosity for what happens next will involve them directly within the activity. Outdoor learning is characterised by experiential nature, which in response can engage children actively within the learning process. As humans naturally learn through experience, it seems beneficial to provide these learning experiences for learners to engage and develop their understanding directly. Beamed et al. 2012.